Jeffri Chadiha joining us now on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline. Jeffri, my first question is putting you on the spot a little bit. I do apologize for that, but we had a guest earlier on the show who angered some listeners by saying he thinks the Seahawks could finish fourth in the NFC West. So I understand you might say the same, and that's okay. But I'll ask you the same question so we can get two voices here. Where do you see the Seahawks? You don't have to go final ranking, but just kind of how do you see them stacking up in this division?
Oh, I don't see them fourth.
Thank God.
Team won 10 games last year, and they've got some talent. I think they're well coached. I think highly of Mike McDonald, and I think the NFC West. The only team I really think is going to be really good in the NFC West, a playoff team, is the Los Angeles Rams. But I think the Seahawks are a wild card. I think the 49ers are a wild card. So I'm not as down on them as other people may be.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Kubiak? He's had a couple years as an offensive coordinator. We understand where his scheme comes from, and I like it. I think it'll help a guy like Sam Darnold. But how much pressure is on him? Because we talk about the offense changing, McDonald doing his thing defensively, but rarely do we put expectations on Kubiak himself.
Yeah, well, and obviously he's bounced around a little bit the last few years. But I like the idea of Kubiak and Sam Darnold together. And so my feeling is that both these guys will play a huge role in each other's success. That sounds obvious, but Kubiak knows Sam Darnold, knows his strengths and his weaknesses. And what you saw in Minnesota last year when Sam Darnold was really successful for most of the year was that the Minnesota Vikings understood that and played to those things that he did well. And so I think having a coordinator who understands Sam Darnold, that's what makes Kubiak valuable to me. Not so much the X's and O's parts of it, because you still have to. The scary thing about Seattle is the things that he had in Minnesota, Darnold had in Minnesota, are not exactly there in Seattle, right? The offensive line's a question. The weapons are not as talented. The supporting cast has to be good for Sam Darnold to succeed. And so I think that's the big thing Kubiak and John Schneider and all those guys McDonald got to figure out is putting the best people around Sam Darnold and Kubiak mine the best out of Sam Darnold.
If you had to talk about the tools Sam Darnold has that you do appreciate, because sometimes, Jeffri, for context, my analysis is far more limited, and I go, oh, well, he had great weapons in Minnesota, but I'm ignoring, of course, that he was a formerly number 3 overall pick. And it didn't work out with New York, but he was a pick for a reason. What are those weapons that you see just within Sam himself?
Well, the thing I see is resilience. And if I'm taking any quarterback in today's game, I want him to have that to be a top quality. And I feel like we underrate that when it comes to quarterbacks. I know that there's a lot of talent out there, but you really look at the guys who have been highly successful in this league who are playing right now, whether that's Joe Burrow or Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. Even Patrick Mahomes had his share of adversity. Like, they've been through something, and they've had to show something about themselves. Baker Mayfield went through that. And so I give the guy a ton of credit for being able to weather the storm he was in, being on 3 teams in a calendar year and all that. So I think, to me, that's the biggest thing. And then having been around 2 really good coaching staffs, that helps young quarterbacks get better. And I've seen a lot of young guys who've had second opportunities and made the most of them. And what you realize, the guys who do succeed in those situations, is that, 1, they've been humbled, but 2, they've gotten around people who understand quarterback play and how to be successful and have given them that knowledge. And so, again, I think that's what he's got going for him, is resilience and just perspective.
We had an interesting conversation a couple of days ago about the wideout group and what they lost and what they gained. I think physically DK is a rare breed when it comes to wideouts. You can always poke holes in someone's game, right? People want to do that all the time. I get that. So you lose that physicality. But I also think that you gained something with a Cooper Kupp and allowing JSN to grow. What do you think they gained with this new core? What do you think they lost?
Oh, you're exactly right when it comes to Cooper Kupp. I mean, you're bringing a guy who has that, that workman-like mentality. I mean, he's a gifted player, but he's also very blue-collar in his approach. The key for him is staying healthy, but he does bring a lot of leadership into that room that, DK, as talented as he was, he could be high maintenance, and he could be explosive and mercurial. And so I think having that in that room is big for a young receiver like Jackson Smith and Jigba. Marquez Valdez-Scantling being in Kansas City, I know that, he has his ups and downs. The speed is going to be there, but he'll probably drop a few passes and frustrate some people. But I think overall, I think they're going to – I think like the kid they got from Colorado State, Torrey Horton. And he might play a role in this. But I think that Cooper Kupp certainly, if he can stay healthy, will be big because, one, he's going to help Smith and Jigba, but he'll also be somebody who that Darnold can rely upon in that passing attack. There's no question that they're going to miss Metcalf, but I think I understand why they got rid of him too.
If we're looking just down at the LA Rams, I'm with you. I think it's kind of you're giving the nod to the Rams, and then you're kind of looking at who can compete for second. How do these other teams take shape? But the Rams are not a perfect team. I mean, what Sean McVay has been able to do is just extraordinary. But Jeffrey, if there are some questions that they might have, if there is a concern or something at least that that may potentially hinder them this season, what do you look at with LA?
Well, it's a couple of things. They're not that strong in the secondary, obviously, that they've been talk about them possibly trading to get Jalen Ramsey back there, so that tells you what they think about what they have. But they've got to stay healthy, too. I mean, they haven't been able to avoid that injury bug, and that includes Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams for what he's been throughout his career, and I think that pretty good chance he's going to continue to be that. But when you're almost 33 years old in this league playing wide receiver, chances are good you're probably not going to be healthy the entire year. And he had some issues with his hamstring when he was up there when he was with the Raiders. Mm-hmm. And so I think that having that group stay healthy is big. And Matthew Stafford's not a spring chicken either. I put that in there as well. But to have that group stay healthy is going to be critical for them because when they've been healthy, they've been really good offensively. And when they haven't been healthy, they have been pretty mediocre offensively. And so to me, that's going to be the big thing for them.
Arizona has entered the chat when it comes to the division, according to some people. What do you like about Arizona?
Tossing it in.
I guess you're not one of those people.
No, I'm not.
According to some.
Yeah. I don't think they've entered the chat. I think that they've got some work to do. They turned some heads last year when they were 6-4. They melted down the stretch, lost a bunch of games. I don't think they've got the talent. Like you talk about the Seattle, you talk about the Rams, the Niners. I don't see that much talent, proven talent, in Arizona. So for me, it's always hard to bet on teams this time of year and say, oh, they're going to make this huge push because look how great the coaches are. Like this is still a talent league, and they really need Marvin Harrison to be a superstar. I know he showed some flashes last year, but he didn't crack the 1,000-yard mark. He's supposed to be better than Jackson Smith and Jigba and Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, all these guys that came out of Ohio State. So he's got to pick up the pace there. And they really didn't add a lot to him as far as the weapons around him. And so Kyler Murray is going to be out there again, running around, trying to make plays. The defense needs some help with the pass rush. They picked up some people in the drafts from younger players and had some veterans. But I just think that of all the teams that I've picked to finish fourth, like they'd be the one I would go with.
It's incredibly clear that this team's messaging, both internally with the front office, with coaches, and with players, is that they're going to bring back the run, make that a massive part of their identity. John Schneider talked about it at the Combine. Mike McDonald has talked about it during the draft. Players talked about it at minicamp this week. They were 29th, I think, in average yards per game or yards per carry last year. Offensive line issues, a big part of that. Running back issues. Jeffrey, if you were told, hey, the Seahawks want to be a top 5 run team this year, is there anything you see where you go, okay, here's some potential, and where do you draw up some doubts?
Well, they've got some really good runners. I mean, I like Kenneth Walker III and Zach Charbonnet. Those guys are tough runners. Again, they got to stay healthy. The offensive line, obviously, is the biggest question mark with this team, but they do have talent there. I mean, Charles Cross is a good left tackle. If Abe Lucas can stay healthy, he's a good right tackle. And then if the kid from South Dakota State, Grace Abel, is a player, now you've got 3/5 of your offensive line being pretty solid. And so, like, it's not a surprise that a defensive-minded coach wants to be physical and run the football, and the elements are there to do that. I think a lot comes back to how well can they throw it? How well can they keep people out of the box? You know, can Sam Darnold make those plays down the field to Smith and Jigba and Cup and Marquez Valdez-Scantling, those guys. They got a young tight end, a rookie tight end in there. Noah Fant's still there. It's like, can you really can those guys be productive enough to take that pressure off the run game?
Hey, Jeffrey, I'm going outside the division. As you know, these young cats are different, man. They're just different. They're raised different. They think different, and I can appreciate it at times, and sometimes I scratch my head. So I'm going to Cincinnati with Shemar and his situation over there. What are your thoughts? How do you think he's handling this? How do you think the Bengals are handling this?
I think they're both handling it poorly.
Right.
And look, I understand his view of it. Like, they're asking him to sign a clause that is in no other rookie contract, and his agent surely has other rookies and knows details of other people's contracts. So I understand that part of it. I don't understand, one, reporting to camp, two, getting in front of a microphone and saying provocative stuff, and then three, leaving. It's just your first year in the NFL. You haven't been in the NFL for 2 months, and already people are seeing a negative side of you. And to be honest with you, like, you had 4.5 sacks in college. Like, there's some questions about your ability to perform. And so I'm a big believer in underselling and overperforming. And so, and I also think that what's happening in Cincinnati is what usually happens when you start seeing leadership on a certain side of the ball taken away, departing, and then you've got obviously Trey Hendrickson with his situation. I think you look at their defense right now and they want to be better, but you can't really say who are the guys they're relying on. Like, Sam Hubbard's gone, Hendrickson's in a contract dispute, Jermaine Pratt's gone, Logan Wilson's still there, but they got a lot of young guys in the secondary. And it's easy for a guy like Shemar Stewart to lose his way and be immature in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think any immaturity that might be from Shemar is like a bigger thing with NIL stuff? And I don't know if that's true. I'll just say for the record, I have no idea. But we hear, like, John Schneider, asked about NIL stuff and says, yeah, it's definitely affected scouting and interviews. And I have no idea how. Like, from the outside looking in, I go, well, I'm curious how that shows up. Do you hear about that showing up? Do you think this is an example?
Oh, I've heard a lot of coaches and GMs talk about that, comment about the impact of NIL players coming in and seeing it differently. And look, it's how can you expect a 20-year-old kid getting maybe millions of dollars at that point in their lives to walk in the NFL and not feel entitled?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just going to be part of the deal. And yeah, it could be an element of this. I think it's more so that I think the way he's handling it is an element of it. I think his frustration is real. I think the Bengals have frustrated him, and he's like, I want to get this done and start playing football, which is probably why he came into camp. But, I think overall, I've heard multiple coaches talk about just, when players show up, they do feel as if, look, I'm the man. Like, I've been paid. People want me. People have been fighting for me. And I'm in the NFL. It's going to come easily to me. And I live in Kansas City. The defensive backs coach here, Dave Merritt, talked about that when in his room, like, guys showing up and feeling like, I got my job won already. Like, put me in. I'm ready to go. And that's not how it works in this league. And so there is certainly a reality check for all these guys, no matter how good they were in college. They'll soon find out that it's much different playing at this level.
Hey, Jeffrey, who's your sleeper team this year?
Oh, sleeper team. I don't know if they're a sleeper team because they've been talked about so much the last couple of years, but I'm going with the Bears. They're playing in the NFC North, and it's a tough division, but I feel like I'm a big fan of Ben Johnson. I think I like what Ryan Poles has been doing there, building the personnel around Caleb Williams. I think Caleb Williams probably gets too much flack about the year he had. He wasn't a complete disaster, as some people have kind of tried to label him. So I think the Bears end up getting a wild card spot, making the playoffs in a very tough NFC.
Do the Bears get their first 4,000-yard passer this year?
They better. As many receivers as they drafted, they better do it. Ben Johnson there, God, it's like they've set a record for guys they brought in there. So I think he does it. I think he will, if he stays healthy. Caleb Williams stays healthy, he will do it.
NFL Network's Jeffri Chadiha. Jeffrey, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeffrey.
All right, guys. Thank you.